I just saw Sinners, and I can confidently agree that it's the best movie of the year so far. Now, admittedly, that's not a very high bar to clear, but this movie is still the best thing that we've gotten since Oscars season wrapped up. But if you want to see this movie, you need to avoid the trailers at all costs. And if you want to understand why, be sure to stay tuned. But first, hello and welcome to Nameless Media. I'm your host, I don't have a name, that's why the channel is called that. This is a really small channel, so be sure to leave a like and a comment because that goes a long way to help with the algorithm. Also, my videos can't enter your subscription feed unless you explicitly invite them in, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be in the loop for future videos. Sinners is a supernatural action horror film directed by Ryan Coogler of Creed and Black Panther fame. The film stars Michael B. Jordan alongside Michael B. Jordan as two identical twin brothers who return to their hometown in Jim Crow era Mississippi to open a juke joint. So to play the music at this club, they employ their cousin Sam, a blues musician with supernatural musical talents, played by a supernaturally talented actor named Miles Caton in his stellar debut performance. Also, there's vampires. The information I've just conveyed is more than what's necessary to know going in. If you like supernatural action horror, or if you like Ryan Coogler's other movies, you're gonna like this movie. So just trust the reviews and see it for yourself. It's really good. Now, I don't think this movie is flawless, so let me just get my nitpicks out of the way real quick. While the first act features some great comedic moments and gives us more than enough time to get to know our central characters, I do think it kind of takes a little while for the plot to get going, but it's nothing egregious. To cite an example, with the particular exception of one mind-blowing, show-stopping musical sequence, you'll know it when you see it, a couple of the other musical moments in the film, especially those centered around the antagonists, kind of drag on by comparison. Maybe my attention span is just totally cooked, but I was starting to feel the runtime in those moments. Some of the dialogue was hard for me to understand, and I don't attribute that to period-accurate regional dialect or the use of AAVE. I attribute that to the recent trend of poor audio mixing in modern film. I feel like I can't watch anything without subtitles these days. The last complaint that I want to bring up before we get to the good stuff, there is a mid-credit scene, and the story of the movie isn't fully resolved until after the mid-credit scene, and I hate that. I feel like the point of a post-credit scene is to serve as a little Easter egg or stinger gag, like the cherry on top of a finished movie. It shouldn't be essential. It shouldn't be the resolution of the plot. That's not an Easter egg. That's just the end of the movie. They splice the last 3 minutes of the movie into the middle of the credits. Ryan Coogler kind of does something similar at the end of Black Panther 2, so Ryan Coogler, you're one of our best, and this is a banger film, but please stop doing this. Nonetheless, the film is pretty great. That one musical scene that I mentioned earlier, if you see it, you know the one, is the best thing that I've seen so far this year. That scene alone is worth the price of admission. You owe it to yourself to witness this instantly iconic movie moment that will be discussed and remembered for decades. Thinking back to some of the most iconic movie scenes of the last 15 years, I think of the sunset dance from La La Land, Cooper watching the video messages in Interstellar, and the rocks from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm just gonna call it now. I think this scene is gonna be remembered and discussed and lauded on that same level. I love the dynamic between the twin brothers Smoke and Stack, played by Michael B. Jordan. This actor has a level of chemistry with himself that rivals the lesbian waiters played by the dude from Bistro Huddy. Furthermore, as I mentioned, Miles Caton delivers a great debut performance with some fantastic singing, and Hailee Steinfeld is charming as always. But I wish her character had a little more development earlier in the film, in place of the film's focus on some of the other side characters. This film has a lot of thought-provoking commentary on Black history, Black culture, especially blues music, and the pursuit of the American dream. I think the vampires represent cultural appropriation within the music industry driven by the profit motive, but frankly, I think the symbolism in this movie is so rich that I'm gonna need a rewatch to get a full understanding of what's being communicated about these topics. I feel like I have an understanding of what I meant to take away from the film emotionally, but I'm just not smart enough to fully articulate the film's commentary on race without diminishing it. But even if I could, you should just go see the film for yourself to discover what you'll take away from it. Experientially, it's still a very rich and fulfilling movie thanks to the action and the character drama. On my next rewatch, I especially look forward to getting a better understanding of the ideas conveyed specifically through the relationship between the twin brothers. I haven't entirely wrapped my head around it, but I'm confident that the differences between these brothers are at the thematic core of the film, almost in the same vein as the ideological conflict between T'Challa and Killmonger in the first Black Panther film. except this time the CGI doesn't look like it came from a PS2 game. There is more that I could say about how the twins' differences inform each brother's relationship with their cousin Sam, the blues singer, but that's another aspect of the story which I think you need to see for yourself instead of hearing about it through a review. In fact, a lot of this film is more effective if you see it for yourself. This film is a thrilling spectacle with some great scares, some really fun action, and more than a few shocking twists. Or rather, they would be shocking if they weren't spoiled by the marketing of the movie. This is a really big problem that I have with modern blockbuster movie marketing. Often, trailers deliver a montage of the film's most notable visual set pieces, but more and more often I find these montages intercut with a condensed summary of the film's inciting incident and rising action. For this film in particular, that marketing formula completely ruins some of the film's most shocking developments. For a point of comparison, consider the recent release of Captain America: Brave New World. Ask anybody on the street who the bad guy is in this movie, and they'll tell you it's Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk. Because Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk is on every poster and prominently featured in every trailer. But in the film itself, the fact that Harrison Ford is the Red Hulk is supposed to be a surprising reveal. So how is that supposed to work? Are we meant to avert our eyes as we pass the poster on our way into the theater? Are we expected to click away from the trailer every time it appears as an ad before a YouTube video? If I ever get to the point where I can get ads before my videos, please don't do that because I have car payments that I need to make. So one of the trailers for Sinners that's been in circulation at my local cinema for multiple months now prominently reveals a couple of the biggest Red Hulks in this movie. And this trailer has been inescapable. I've gotten it before YouTube videos, I've seen clips on social media, and I see it every time I go to the cinema. And I can't tell you what I wouldn't give to have this movie and all of its marketing completely erased from my memory so I could experience Sinners again for the first time, completely blind. It's a vampire movie. Part of the intrigue suggested by the premise of a vampire movie is the question of who's going to become a vampire. So don't spoil that! This is an exciting, smart, and original story by a popular director featuring some of the most charming and well-liked performers in Hollywood. So I would hope that audiences don't need to be spoon-fed plot details from the second act to be convinced to show up. The film works great on its own terms. Longlegs is a great example of a recent horror movie that made boatloads of money, and I largely attribute that to its mysterious marketing campaign that created a lot of intrigue about the story of the film. Going into the movie, audiences didn't have a solid grasp on what the story was even about, but that's why they bought the ticket. The imagery and the tone of the trailers were so compelling that audiences wanted to experience the story for themselves in the theater. But for the record, when compared to Longlegs, I think Sinners is a much more thematically compelling film, in my opinion. This marketing precedent completely undermines directorial intent for storytelling, and I'm really frustrated about it because the twists in this story are otherwise some of the best parts of this film. If you can, go into this movie as blind as possible. I know you're already watching this review, so just don't watch anything else. In fact, watch this review a couple more times for the algorithm and then go see the movie. So all things considered, as we look to the Dan Merle scale, despite some minor flaws, I'm still giving this movie a rating of see it now. I think this is sure to be another hit from Ryan Coogler, and hopefully another cultural moment that reaches at least some of the popularity of Black Panther. While I doubt that an R-rated horror film is going to have that kind of motion, I do think this film is exciting and substantive enough to have some serious staying power, and that this will end up going down as one of the best studio films of the year. But do you agree? What did you think of the movie? Do you think Sinners will be considered a modern classic? I explicitly invite you inside my comment section below. Also, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos of me yapping about movies. Remember, this is a really small channel, so any form of engagement goes a long way towards helping me with the algorithm. That's all I've got. Here's the end card. Hello and welcome to the 10 seconds of black screen at the end of the video so you can click on stuff. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. This time I'm actually recording it using the same software that I used to record the rest of the video so the audio quality is consistent. What a novel concept. You should check out my review of the Minecraft movie because it's actually a deep dive into the cultural state of Gen Z and why I think the movie has been as successful as it is. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.